Under the shadow of Genghis Khan, life in the Mongol Empire was anything but ordinary. Imagine a world governed by unforgiving laws, where even a small mistake could mean brutal punishment, and where constant warfare meant that peace was an illusion. In this video, we are pulling back the curtain on the true hardships of living under Genghis Khan's rule. Mongol Empire's brutal laws. Genghis Khan ruled over his empire with an uncompromising code known as the Yasa. This law code unified his vast and diverse empire, yet it came at the cost of individual freedom, imposing terrifying consequences on those who dared disobey. The Yasa was a rigid, all-encompassing set of laws that governed everything from theft to personal relationships, enforcing a strict moral and social order. Theft was punishable by death, no matter how small the offense. Even something as simple as taking a neighbor's animal could result in execution. Adultery was met with equally harsh measures, with offenders often executed or exiled without recourse or appeal. According to Giovanni, a Persian historian who documented the Mongol Empire in the history of the world conqueror, Genghis Khan believed that absolute obedience was necessary for a united and disciplined empire. Giovanni notes that the Yasa was meant to inspire awe and fear, compelling obedience from all. The Yasa did not allow for personal exceptions or leniency, even if the offender was a friend or relative of the great Khan himself. Loyalty to Genghis Khan was expected to override all else, and even minor infractions were met with draconian consequences. For the average person, the Yasa loomed over daily life as an omnipresent threat. It was both a shield for the empire and a sword against dissent, ensuring that order was maintained through fear. Living under this unbending rule left little room for personal autonomy, and any misstep could lead to disastrous, often fatal, consequences. In the Mongol Empire, survival hinged on submission to the Khan's will and the absolute obedience demanded by the Yasa. Daily life struggles. Life in the Mongol Empire was not for the faint-hearted. The vast steppes of Central Asia could be unforgiving, scorching summers followed by brutal winters, and a constant need to move in search of food, water, and grazing lands. The Mongol people, known as people of the felt tent, lived in portable tents, made of felt and wood, and relied heavily on livestock for sustenance. There were few luxuries, even water was a carefully guarded resource. Life was lived on horseback and required relentless physical endurance. Everyday life was dominated by survival tactics and efficiency. Women and children worked as much as men, managing animals, foraging, and setting up the mobile homes for the next journey. While some communities achieved wealth through conquests, the average Mongol faced daily struggles to meet even basic needs. Most foods were dried or fermented, as fresh produce was rare, and food preservation was essential in the nomadic life. This way of life was not chosen out of convenience but shaped by necessity, with resilience at its core. Harsh Mongol punishments. The Mongol Empire was infamous for its ruthless justice system, and the methods of punishment employed were as severe as they were calculated. For Genghis Khan, maintaining order in such a vast and diverse empire meant enforcing absolute discipline. This was achieved through punishments that were not only brutal but often public, designed to instill fear and prevent dissent. Beheading was the most common form of execution, but it was far from the only method. For more severe crimes such as betrayal, theft of imperial property, or defiance of the Khan's authority, offenders might face death by slow methods, including dismemberment or being tied to wild horses to be torn apart. Historical accounts, such as those by Friar John of Plano Carpini, describe other gruesome punishments like boiling alive or impalement, though the accuracy of such claims remains debated. Nonetheless, the reputation of Mongol cruelty was enough to ensure compliance. Soldiers who deserted their units could be executed alongside their families, as loyalty was considered a sacred duty. In cases of collective disobedience or failure, entire groups might be punished, captains executed if their troops faltered, or villages wiped out for harboring fugitives. Another chilling punishment involved placing the offender under a wooden plank and crushing them with heavy stones, ensuring a slow and agonizing death. The Mongols also used psychological punishment, often sparing criminals but destroying their status or possessions. Exile to the harshest parts of the steppe, where survival was nearly impossible, was another common practice. This unrelenting approach to justice, while brutal, was key to maintaining the stability of the empire and the authority of Genghis Khan's unyielding laws. Life under these conditions meant living with constant vigilance, as one wrong move could lead to devastating consequences. Women's subjugation. Polygamy was a cornerstone of Mongol family structures, particularly among the elite. Men, especially those of high status, took multiple wives, with primary wives often chosen for their political or economic benefits and secondary wives or concubines relegated to lesser roles. While a woman's position in the household hierarchy determined her influence, even senior wives were not immune to being treated as property. Genghis Khan's Yasa reinforced these practices, dictating that women owed absolute loyalty to their husbands and families. Marriages were typically arranged, dishonoring their family. Even within the confines of marriage, a woman's desires and well-being were secondary to fulfilling her husband's needs and producing children. Constant warfare. For those living in the Mongol Empire, war was a constant part of life. The Mongol state thrived on conquest, and Genghis Khan's ambition led to continuous fighting. War was not just a duty but a daily routine for Mongol men. Soldiers were expected to be skilled riders, archers, and fiercely loyal to their commanders. The empire grew at an unbelievable rate, reaching from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, and every able-bodied man was expected to help in its expansion. The famous writer Giovanni mentioned that the people of conquered lands viewed the Mongol army as an unstoppable, all-consuming storm force. This never-ending state of warfare had a big effect on daily life. The Mongol strategy relied on speed, fear, and overwhelming force, meaning that entire communities would move to support campaigns, leaving many parts of the empire empty. Warfare brought big rewards but also placed strong pressure on soldiers, who could face punishment or death for running away. Civilians lived in fear of being forced to join, while families suffered with the uncertainty of their men's fate on far battle areas. For those conquered by the Mongols, life could be even harsher. Genghis Khan's tactics included psychological warfare, such as total destruction of cities that resisted or mass killings to scare future enemies. For those within the empire, safety often meant living far from danger areas or avoiding involvement with Mongol authority. The constant threat of war left people tough but also careful of drawing attention, as stability was short, and safety was a privilege only given for a short time. In the Mongol Empire, survival meant handling a world ruled by relentless laws, facing daily hardships, suffering merciless punishments, and living under the constant shadow of war. It was a reality that built one of the largest empires in history but left few untouched by its hard demands. Living in Genghis Khan's empire was not simply a matter of allegiance, it was a test of strength, obedience, and a harsh acceptance of fate. If you found this glimpse into the raw and relentless life under Genghis Khan's rule interesting, consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell. There is much more to uncover about the hidden realities of ancient empires, and by staying with us, you will go deeper into the past to explore how history's greatest leaders shaped and sometimes broke their worlds.